keep us in chains by a show of hands. Who else is sick and tired of the same 1%? Trying to keep us small, trying to keep us from getting out. Minimizing the struggles they've caused, saying we're not working hard enough.
We really should stop this fighting. Otherwise, we'll miss the fireworks.
There won't be any fireworks.
And here we go.
And welcome everybody to Suck It. I am the great and powerful King of Kings, Prince of all that is awesome. Derek, how are you tonight on this Monday, January 25th of the year 2021? Whew, off to a new week, new start, almost end of January already. Didn't it just feel like yesterday we were celebrating Thanksgiving? But no, it's already almost February. You know, it is a snowy evening today in Northern Virginia. It is like coming down hard outside right now. And they said it was only supposed to be a little bit with rain. No, it's full force right now. So last time this happened, I lost power right in the middle of an interview, so hopefully that won't happen again. Lost power right in the middle of, like, world famous comedian Steve Hofstetter. That was horrible. So hopefully that won't happen tonight, especially with the guest I have tonight. Because as I said to you guys last week, you know, since September I have been nonstop, you know, talking to, you know, artists and musicians and bands. Like, it's been music after music after music, you know, and I kind of lost, I that was by design, but at the same time I got well, you know, and just well into it without realizing that I was losing focus on the show at the same time. So while I did it on purpose, at the same time I lost focus. So with that being said, you know, nothing's really changing. I'm still going to be doing bands and, you know, musicians and actors, actresses, and comedians and everything else in between. But again, I lost focus on what the show was all about and, you know, mental health. So I need to be making sure that I consciously diversify my guest list, because I'm still going to talk to them, but at the same time I need to talk to other people too, authors, therapists, real life people that have dealt with this stuff, and survivors and stuff like that, and really kind of make it again back to what it was, that non-niche show, because it really kind of niched itself with music, and I don't want to be niched. So we're kind of diversifying this week and kind of taking a different turn. And this week I'm labeling it as our Mind, Body, and Soul Week, because all week long is going to be nothing but survivors, therapists, coaches, and everybody else in between, authors, in order to refocus and get back to what we do best. And that's talking about mental health, and same time talking about surviving and how we can survive better and laugh and joke and everything else, you know, to get really back to the heart of what the show is all about. And again, that's what we're going to be doing for, you know, this week and into next week as well. But we'll get back to the music. I promise it's coming. And there's some big stuff coming too. So just kind of relax and enjoy the ride that is this show. And tonight's show kicks off the week in a definite way. And I'm so happy that the person that I have with me tonight is the first of the week, because not only is she, you know, an author, an executive coach, life coach, whatever you want to call it. There's a difference, but we'll talk about that later. But she's also a survivor of, you know, coming from the same types of places that I've been through. Different, but same. So, you know, we'll talk about that and all that more. But, you know, she is a strong-willed, strong mentally, you know, just everything powerful, you know, that you would want in a friend and everything else in between. So I'm really, really glad to have with me tonight Miss Tess Vergara.
Hey, Derek, thanks for that. How are you?
I am doing well. I almost died about 20, 30 minutes ago, but, you know, I'm good. So I've been like, I did 3 other shows today, so I didn't get a chance to defrost any chicken or get a chance to cook. I recorded a bunch of shows, and then in between, I was on somebody else's show, and you coming on, I ran out to Taco Bell, and it, like I said, it's coming down hard outside, and I was like, damn, I hope I don't die. I had one patch of ice on my way back. I was like, okay, I think I'm okay. But yeah. But other than that, I'm great.
It's snowing real hard here too.
Where are you
Yeah.
at?
In Nebraska currently.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, my home base is in Minneapolis.
Oh, even worse.
Yeah. And that's why I'm here.
Yeah, Minnesota's like southern Canada. I mean, it might as well not even be, America.
It's not that bad. It's not that bad. But it's gotten worse from my perspective. So uh since the George Floyd and all that
Yeah.
happened last year.
Yeah, I mean that was definitely the epicenter of it all, obviously, which is truly a sad fact that such a state and a town that kind of flies under the radar on most days. It just most people know Minnesota and Minneapolis and all the places around it is just good old next door neighbor folk, and then something like
Right.
that happens, and it just kind of tarnishes the reputation of what is normally a peaceful state. Because again, it just goes forgotten about most of the time because it just chills up in its little corner and doesn't really do much.
Yeah, we're Minnesota nice, that's for sure.
Yeah, unless the Twins or the Vikings are doing something important. Most people don't talk about Minnesota.
We're Mall of America.
Yeah, the Mall of America. Can't forget the Mall of America.
Yeah.
You know what? Before we get into this conversation, it still boggles my mind that one of the hottest, points of attraction as far as like getting married is that Mall of America in Minnesota, and that just boggles my mind.
Getting married?
Yes,
Really?
yes.
Is that
It is like a
true?
hot spot. Yes, people
Wow. Well,
like
yeah. I guess there is a chapel there at the Mall of America. And there's yeah, now that you bring it to my attention. Yeah, I could. That's weird though.
I
I've
had heard
never
that
heard
once.
of it.
Yeah, I heard like more people get married there than like anywhere else in the entire state. I'm like, that is crazy.
Wow.
But hey, to each his own, right?
Yeah, exactly. Just
So
follow your bliss.
exactly. If you want to get married at the mall, get married at the mall. Damn it.
No judgment.
So why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and tell everybody who you are and kind of give a little bit of a backstory. We'll kind of go into it more, but kind of give it a little bit of a history of who you are.
Well, like you said, thank you for the introduction. I'm a soul powered executive coach. And I got to that place because of the depression and the burnout that I went through. I was a financial controller, financial director back in the day. So 2015 was the time I stepped out of that world because of the burnout, depression, and I got into self help, uh, spirituality, everything. Tony Robbins, just to get a hold of my own mind. So now that's what I'm doing. Everything that I've learned with myself as a guinea pig to really take back my mind, take back my power. Because at some point I felt so depressed that I didn't want to be here anymore. So I turned my life around in that way, really taking back my mind, really taking back my voice, really taking back my power in anything that was collapsing my energy and giving my power away. I had to turn it all around. And then when I saw the transformation in myself, then I started, okay, I can do this work. And it felt so good to do it. And I realized I thought I was going to die an accountant and didn't know that there was more to my life. There was more destiny that was waiting for me than, the education that I got, the training that I got from a financial perspective.
So what kind of what started the dark road? Everyone has kind of like that one
Mm.
point where you kind of say, yeah, that was kind of the beginning of it. What was that for you?
Well, to be honest, it was my 2007 when I turned 40. I started feeling my first taste of depression. But then I got into the uh, mindfulness, being aware of what I'm doing. I started cutting down on my hours because I was a single mom for a long time, for 15 years. So that contributed to the burnout for sure. So when I turned 40, I was so aware of my own depression that, okay, I went into gardening, I was doing yoga, I was doing a little bit of things to go back into that relaxation and rejuvenation. But what happened was, instead of cutting down my hours, which I was already doing, I got called in because my boss I was working two jobs. I was a finance director for one, and then another as a financial controller part time. So, so the total was about 10 hours. And then my boss got sick and wanted me to work more hours. So it became a 12-hour daily with some weekends, with my rental properties, with my bookkeeping on the side. So it was too much. So, and then in 2009, my rental property in Duluth, Minnesota was arsoned. The people couldn't pay. I waited a long time for them to get evicted. And then when I changed the locks and everything, they burnt the house down. So that
Oh my
happened in
God.
April of 2009. April or March. It was Easter Sunday anyway. I got a phone call from the fire department. Yeah, the significance of the day. And then June 30th, my boss, the executive director for the company that I was working for, the nonprofit I was working for, he passed away June 30th. And then I had to double down. I wasn't going home until like midnight. I wasn't seeing my children. I was training the new executive director and all that. And then there was so many things that I was just putting too many fires out, and I wasn't connected with my own needs. And I was also not seeing my children at that time because I was, I would be home, they would be asleep already, and then get up again the same day again in the morning. And then what happened was, this is what really tipped me off, was when I came to work, I saw the auditor in the hallway, and I'm like, what are you doing here? And what I found out was the new executive director and the board of directors invited him behind my back to look into the books, to look into everything I was doing, to even ask him if I was even, um, uh, if I even fit in for the job, which was at the time I was doing for 8 years already. So they were questioning my credential because I'm from Canada to the US. So I'm not a CPA in the US. I'm certified in Canada. And so they were questioning that. And I just felt so betrayed at that point, and I lost it. And then on Christmas Eve that same year, I broke my knee. I broke my ACL and skiing downhill. And that was it. I'm like, okay, that's it. I'm done. Done with this BS. I'm gonna take back control of my life. So it was one big hit after another that really forced me to look at my situation. And for someone who thought she got her life figured out, that was real bad news to all of a sudden have to confront, if that makes sense.
No, I mean it does makes a whole hell of a lot of sense. Because everyone's journey through mental health and depression is very different. You know, for me, it was something I was born with, and it's genetic in my family. I just refused to believe it, and I was like, "Oh, nope, not me. Anyone but me. Can't happen to me." And I fought it forever. And I would have these panic attacks, and I would lash out, in just massive amounts of anger, and just start screaming and yelling. I mean, I never hit anyone or beat anybody. It was just a lot of yelling and just anger, and just I denied it for so long. And between work just running me ragged at the time, I mean, barely slept, haven't always be there, that constant pressure from upper management to perform at a certain level. And, it was just, it was way too much. And then my dad had a stroke, and I broke. Like, I just literally broke. And I attempted suicide at the time, and just, you know, really, it was just, I mean, still even looking back on it now, it's just like, oh my God, it was so much. But, if if I didn't go through that, I wouldn't have helped myself. I would have been getting worse and worse and worse, and to the point of no return. And now I've used that as, again, to channel my energy towards the show and helping others, people like me, in that same way. So, we both kind of had that, like I said, a similar, different but same type of journey. Work was riding us, and now we've turned our life around to help others. And that's why I said it like that, because it's very similar. But at the same time, it's very different as well, because everyone's different.
Right.
What was that first step to health, to self improvement, that first step toward self help? What was that first step like for you? What was that feeling like, and what was that? What did you do first?
Well, express my anger, because anger comes from not being heard or not being valued, not feeling important, right? So I was so angry that those things happened to me. And because I was angry, I was then able to look into, okay, if they're going to treat me this way, then I'm going to take care of myself first. Because nobody deserves this. Nobody deserves a stab in the back. And I allowed it to happen. I gave my power away. I treated them as more important than my own life. So that was the very first thing that I did. I got angry and I took myself back. So that journey to healing started with self-love. And I'm like, everyone's talking about self-love. Well, how do you even do self-love when self-love is supposed to be selfish, right? So you're kind of going against the grain and pushing to return to that love of self, when that is the last thing that we are taught in society to ever do, to ever give to ourselves.
Correct. And that's something that I've preached on this show since it started, was that, for the longest time, society told us that, happiness comes from being in love, or happiness comes from other people, and, all this stuff that, where happiness comes from. And, but in reality, you can be in a massive amount of love with somebody, but they're never going to make you happy.
Correct.
The only source of happiness in your life comes from yourself. And that I think is one of the things that people don't realize. Oh, well, I'm hanging out with my friends, I'm happy. Well, were you happy before you're hanging out with your friends, or were you happy because you're hanging out with your friends? If you're happy because you're hanging out with your friends, then there's obviously some work you need to be doing on yourself, because you're not truly happy. You're
Right.
happy because you're not inside your own head and you're escaping your problems, and that's not how happiness works. And I think that's one of the biggest problems, is people don't realize what it takes to truly be happy. And I think that escapes, reality. Like, they'll lean on, oh, I'm sad, let me lean on my partner. Oh, I'm sad, let me lean on my friends. And they never find that true happiness.
Correct.
So self-love is very important. And like you said, it was a selfish act, considered a selfish act. But at the same time, it's like, no, that's the most important thing. Before you can
Yeah.
love anybody else, you have to be able to love yourself.
That is correct. Yeah. And yeah, you really have to go against the grain to really gain that back, that self-respect. It starts with self-respect first. If people can understand that self-respect, self-care, and self-love are all different. Self-acceptance is different. Self-trust is different, but it's all encompassing of unconditional self-love that we really need to bring back. It was never taught to us before. The programming has been, you are last on the list, and if you put yourself first, you're selfish, and that is baloney.
That is 100% correct. You know, putting yourself first is never selfish. It's a priority. It needs to be your top priority because again, you cannot have a healthy relationship with your wife or husband or girlfriend or whatever, um, or your kids or your mom or your dad or your business partner, unless you're happy within yourself, unless you have that, you know, that priority within yourself to take care of yourself, you know, and that is, again, that's lost on society. You know, again, people, like you say, people think it's selfish and it's not fair. You should never put yourself first. Put other people first. Yeah, and that's what drives people insane. And that was one of the things that drove me up a freaking wall, was that I was constantly trying to please other people while I was just absolutely unhappy with who I was as a person. But I'm like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
nope, got to put these people first. Got to take care of them.
Mm-hmm.
And the more I did that, the more I got in, you know, it basically took, I went into debt with myself. And because
Right.
I forgot who I was, and I stole away my own energy to give it to other people, and that's not fair. And that nobody should ever have to do that.
Right. No.
You know, it's really, really, really sad. You know, especially in today's climate. You know, where corporations, the government, you know, don't put mental health as a priority in their company, you know, or in their business practices. They will, you know, they don't really, nobody puts that first. And it's one of those things that now it's affecting the workers of America, and people are, it's still going unnoticed. You know, again, the last year, like, you know, like I said, the government too, because like last year, you know, we don't even know the number yet. We won't know the number fully for like a year, but like suicide was at its highest it's ever been in
Mm-hmm.
this country.
Mm-hmm.
And yet the government was sitting there saying, hey, the red's wrong. No, the blue's wrong. Hey, the red's wrong. No, the blue. And they were too busy infighting to care about the country. You know, corporations were sitting there saying, oh, you know, we're losing money, so let's go ahead and lay everybody off and add to the problem and not try to fix it in the process. You know, and while all these people are dying around us, not only just from corona, but from suicide as
From
well.
suicide.
And
Mm-hmm.
and it completely went unnoticed. They were talking about, you know, on the, especially on the media too. You know, if I didn't look it up myself and talk to other doctors, I would have never known. I had a theory, I kind of knew, but you know, just because I was in depth in it all. But the media didn't talk about it. They're talking about, too busy talking about the infighting of the government. So it's like
Right.
nobody knows what's going on, and it wasn't a priority. It's still not, and that's sad.
It is, and the thing is, all of this could have been avoided, but it's not. You know, the lockdown, I have a podcast on this and I call it Soul Power to the People, Rising Above Crimes Against Humanity. And I call it a crime against humanity, anything that lowers down our vibration, that lowers down our consciousness, that traps us into that survival uh, mentality, survival mechanism, so that all we're doing is just coping, coping, coping. I really don't believe, after all I've been through, what I can tell and share the people is, we are more than that. We are more than having to just pay the bills, go to work, pay the bills, um, and spread ourselves too thin until we break down. And I really think it was unnecessary, the level of suffering that we had to go through last year, especially for people who don't have the tools. You and I have been through it. We've been working on it for a long time. But what about the people who were just, oh my God, where am I going to get money right now? And the thing that drives people is their purpose. If you lock down people and they cannot access work, where is their sense of purpose? Their level of depression is right there. You take away their motivation to be able to care for themselves, to earn their livelihood. That's a very depressing, and it creates a level of rage inside. But if you even speak about it, oh my God, you you come across being canceled, right? Or
Yeah,
you.
and I've actually had this argument before, and I'll say it again too because I'm a firm believer in it, and I've had people mad at me for what I'm about to say, and I don't care, because it's the truth, and what you just said is 100% accurate. However, I like to take it a step further. You take away someone's job, and then you take away their self purpose and their self worth, and so on and so forth, and they get angry, they get depressed, so on and so forth. But at the same time, why are they letting that happen?
Oh,
Because
I know.
now you're sitting at home. Maybe you're collecting a severance, maybe you're collecting unemployment, you're not working, you can't find a job. Okay, so now you're depressed because you can't find anything. But are you trying to find something in that same field that you've been doing for the last 30 years and has gotten you nowhere? Or have you taken a second and said, wait a second, I now have a little bit of extra money because the government's been basically bailing us out, thankfully. So, what did I want to do when I was 13? What did I want to do when I was 10? Why can't I go back and try that again? Why can't I say, wait a second, I'm going to open up my own business? I've been doing this for 30 years. Why don't I work for myself? Why don't I try this? Why don't I try that? But no, people are sitting there standing around being angry at everybody else when they're not even taking that extra step and saying, maybe I should try something different, or maybe I should do this or do that. Because, yes, you have every reason in the world to be angry at the government and the job that you lost because of this whole thing, because nobody was prepared and they did a crappy job of recovering from it. We're still not recovered from it. It's going to be years before we do. But at the same time, the only person that's preventing you from getting out of that funk is yourself.
Correct.
That there's nobody actively putting a wall in front of you to prevent you from doing anything other than yourself. I don't care if you've been in a job for 30 years and you're like, well, I can't promote anymore because my boss says they won't let me. Okay, then you're allowing your boss to not let you get promoted. You're the one putting yourself in those positions. You're the one sitting at home, for lack of a better word, moaning and complaining and bitching about not doing anything, but you're the one not doing anything. And it's hard to grasp, and it's hard to get yourself out of that funk. But at the same time, it's like, when I was 13, maybe I wanted to be a computer engineer, but I ended up being an accountant or whatever. Why don't I just go back and, why can't I be a computer engineer? I can do that from home. I can help people, do this, or I can do that, and can, there's lots of different things that you could do. But I think a lot of people have that brick wall up right now saying, oh, well, I can't do this because right now my job is not in need because of the virus or whatever else the case might be. Well,
Right.
don't you have any other
Right.
skills?
Right. I think we have a different level of response, depending on the level of awareness and depending on that longing inside of us to do something different or to be better people. Um, some are just so no clue, and they're just the mm, that drama, that division, that's where they get their energy from, all that conflict, and they thrive on it because it gives them energy, right?
Yeah.
But is that empowering? Is that sustainable? No, because you're constantly having to create that conflict in order to grab that energy, which is negative energy. And so you're continually recreating that. And a lot of people, in the coaching industry, I've gotten more clients actually in 2020 than the year before, because they've gotten to realize, oh my God, this sucks. You're in lockdown, might as well use, the first 6 months to do something to. So it really depends. I wouldn't generalize it. There are people and who took advantage of the time off to really improve on themselves.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
and yeah,
Oh yeah, and I wasn't like generalizing everybody at
right.
all, because I mean I'm one of the ones that lost my job and then refocused my energy onto something else and
There you go.
turned it
Yeah,
into this. There's been a lot of
right,
people that have, but then at the same time there's been a lot of people that haven't, and
right.
I feel that the only way that we're ever going to recover as a country is if we all kind of step up and take charge of our own lives, like you have done, and like I have done, and many other people have done. But at the same time, there's a lot of people who just don't know even where to start.
Yeah,
And I think that again is scary because for the longest time, we have been told, grow up, get an education, get married, go to school, and then work a corporate job until you're ready to retire and die. But
right. No.
that's why do we have to? Why does that have to be everyone's life plan? But that's what we were always told. My dad. I mean, I'm surviving, really well and doing this on my own, and I'm building something huge on this end. But my dad every day calls me, when are you gonna get a real job? Thanks, Dad.
Yeah.
And it's like, I thanks for the belief in me. I appreciate it.
Right.
You
Oh,
sit around and
believe
talk
me,
to.
I
How is that a job? You sit around and talk to the people on the internet all day. That's not a job. Go get a real job.
I hear that too from family and stuff. And uh, unless you are in it, unless you've connected with your purpose and mission in life, they have no right to criticize or even minimize what we do, because we know what we want, right? It's
Yeah.
we thrive on it. But I can totally resonate with that.
Yeah. I mean, if anything, I work. I mean, my stress level is way down.
Mm,
But
good.
like, I work harder than I ever have in my entire life. Now,
Mhm.
I mean, because I
Because
get up.
you're in that flow, right? You're in that inspiration and creativity.
Yeah, I mean, I'm up at 7, getting because I do multiple shows throughout the day, and I do multiple things throughout the day. But I'm up at 7, doing my first show at 9 a.m. in the morning, and then sometimes I'll go and stream on Twitch and game and help people. I kind of do a mental health thing while I'm gaming, and then I do my regular show at nighttime, and I'll be talking to PR people and agents and authors and all throughout the day in between shows, and it's just like it's a constant moving. I'm moving from 7 a.m. in the morning till I get off the show at nighttime. I mean, it's
Right,
13, 14-hour days. Look, I'm at
right.
home and I do most of it from my phone and I'm listening to music or I'm watching Family Guy while I'm doing it. But, it's, yeah, I work harder than I ever have.
Yeah,
Um,
it's so true.
it's,
Hmm.
it's, it's crazy, but I love it more than I ever have.
Right, right. When you're aligned with that purpose, it doesn't feel like work. It actually sustains you. It brings you more joy
Exactly.
and bliss. Yeah. So
Yeah, I mean, you find something you love, you never work a day in your life, and that is so
correct.
cliche to say, and
But
such
it's so
a
true.
it's so true. It really is. But at the same time, you've got to maintain that focus because because if you're working for yourself or you're working at home, sometimes you can get lost. And it's like I'm
Correct.
already here. I'm maybe just 10 more minutes. Let me sleep in, or no, I'm working all. I mean, I'm work from home, so maybe I'll just do the dishes at nighttime versus this morning, or whatever the case might be, or and you can lose focus, but you've got to maintain that focus. But at the same time, if you're out to make yourself happy by doing what you love to do, it's not going to feel like you're working that hard at all.
Right, right. It really takes a lot of awareness to know your other needs. It's not just your mission, it's not just your purpose. You're human too. So you have to be able to go outside, get some fresh air, movement, right? You got to balance it a little bit. Otherwise, if it's too much, then, you know, overload would then lead to that feeling like overburdened, and then all of a sudden you feel tired, and then when you feel tired physiologically, then you feel like, oh, I don't feel attractive, oh, I don't feel like this and that, I don't feel effective in work, so it really drains down your energy. So bringing up your physiology is really important to maintain your mental health.
Yeah, 100%. So, as a executive coach, a life coach, what exactly is it that you do for your clients? What exactly is your purpose with them?
uh it's imagine, as an accountant, I have, different ledgers, right? And it's all about accounting and balancing. I'm applying the same principle in soul powered executive coaching, where your physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual gets into vertical alignment, so you feel one person, not scattered all over the place. How we put on different personas, and I'm going to be all nice to you, but when I turn around, I'm not the same person. It's a drain in energy and can actually contribute to mental health, because you're not being your authentic self. So that's one of the things I do. Well, actually, that's the foundation, is bringing all four pillars, I call it, so that it's one pillar, one alignment. And from there you can really tap into your soul power. Because willpower, I don't know, if you can relate to this. Willpower comes to a point where, oh my god, I can't do anything anymore. You can't willpower anything. You can't muscle through anymore. It's like our ego component is just, okay, fine. You surrender to your higher being, you surrender to your higher power. And right, so all of a sudden you're, wow, thank you, um help me. So I came to that place of, down on my knees, I can't do this anymore. Either I actually did this, I don't know if you're religious at all, but I was looking at a picture of Jesus in my house, and I was in such a painful state, where I said, either you take this pain away, help me figure this out, or just get me out of here. And he helped me, or he, or higher being, or higher power. And in soul powered executive coaching, that is the soul power, that is alignment with our essence and innate nature. And we've forgotten all that. We've put on all this mask just so we feel acceptable to people pleasing, you mentioned earlier. We keep giving ourselves away, and then we feel so scattered, that we're always getting by instead of thriving, instead of really designing our life to what it is that we want to do from a soul level.
Yeah, and I can completely see what you're saying there. The only thing that I would say, difference on my end is I'm not a religious person in any which way,
Mhm.
shape, or form. I'm
Yeah.
spiritual, but I'm not religious. I don't believe in religion at all.
Mhm.
So, like for me, and for sake of debate, not trying to argue or say no, you're wrong. I'm just for sake of debate, because I love these types of conversations. When you say he helped you through it or he got you through it, I think, in my opinion, and again, this is just my opinion, and nothing wrong with you thinking the way you think, and nothing wrong with thinking the way I think. I think having differences of opinions makes people even better friends and better colleagues, because you can work off each other.
Correct.
But I guess the only difference where I would say is, like, I think I think you did more for yourself than he did, and I
Of
think
course, of
yes,
course.
yes.
But
So yes,
it was a stage, right? It was a
correct.
stage where the indoctrination is, the source is external. So
Okay.
that's where I'm saying.
Okay, then we're on the same page. Okay, we're good then.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's not
Yes.
religiosity. It's not it's really finding, but it's at that point where I told you I was like down on my knees. I can't do this anymore. I think I'm gonna,
Yeah.
just but there was nothing in me that would harm myself also. So I
Yeah.
was like, that was the definition of hell, is like, oh my god, I don't want to be here, but I can't be.
Yeah.
Get me out of here.
Yeah, because one of the things that I've noticed too over the last year is, I thought I had to sneeze, but I don't. Hold on. Maybe I do. No, I'm good. All right. So one of the things that I've noticed is, and I've talked to other people like this as well, who say those, what you said, he helped me through it, or he got me through whatever. or I reached out for help and he never helped me, or whatever the case might be.
Right.
And then those people are constantly seeking help from somebody up above who's not answering, and then they do end up ending it because now they think they're truly alone in this world. And one of the things I like to, if you are religious, be religious. I have no problem with that. And I'm not talking to you, I'm talking to the people. If you're not, you don't have to be. That's fine too. But remember, regardless of whether it's Jesus or God or, whoever you pray to, Allah or whatever, they might give you the kick in the butt that you need, but at the end of the day, you're the one that pulled yourself out. And
Correct.
and you've got to remember that you're the strong one too. It wasn't God who said, "Yeah, you're not ready to die yet, so we're just going to go ahead and heal you." No, he or she, whoever you believe in, said, "Let's go ahead and give him that little bit of a nudge." And then you took over from there. And so that's how strong of a person you are. And never forget that. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. That's another indoctrination that we received, right? Is that there is an external, that your love is what will complete me, that the having children is what's going to complete me. So we've always sourced our happiness to external, and that is just not true at all. So you are absolutely right. It's that soul power, that I call it. It's sourced from within. It's not external. It's not the God with a bearded God. Actually, God is inside of us, universe, pure consciousness, however you want to call it, highest nature, highest light. So however it is, it's our human beingness is limited by our beliefs, our indoctrination, our programming, our conditioning.
Yeah.
But if we break out of that human conditioning, we actually return to our soul power, which is our innate nature, our highest nature.
Yeah. And I couldn't have said it better myself. That's awesome. That's actually 100% on the money in my opinion. And, because again, you hit the nail on the head. A lot of people, aside from, same like we were just talking about, people will say, "Oh, I need to be in love to be happy," or "I need to be with this person or that person," or "I need to do this in order to be happy." But then at the same time, take all that out, and then you kind of deal with the, for lack of a better term, the religious or the supernatural of it all, and say, "Well, I need God in my life in order to be happy." Or I need God to guide me, or I need Jesus to guide me, or I need Mary to, send me a sign. Mm-hmm. Do you? that power is within you as well. Now, are they a good people to follow? Are they, is the will, of their way, a positive light in your life? Let it be, But the power at the end of the day to be happy, to help yourself, whatever the case might be, is always inside you.
Correct.
Regardless of whether, and here's another point with that as well. If you're depressed and you go to the doctor and he gives you Lexapro or Zoloft and you just take those pills, at the end of the day, they're not going to do everything what they need them to do. Mm-hmm. There's extra steps along the way that come from you, whether it's talking to a therapist, talking to your mom, talking to your brother, talking to whoever, letting it out, feeling who you are. But those pills are not going to be the end all be all. They don't work all the time. I'm a living proof of that. And again, it's that same mentality. Well, I know if I take this, everything's going to be okay. But no, it's not how it is. It doesn't work like that with heart medication either. I mean, just because you had a clogged artery and now you're taking heart medication doesn't mean you're never going to have a heart attack again. Quit eating fucking pizza. It's
Absolutely.
It's the same concept. That strength comes from within. That strength comes from us. And we can never forget that, because the moment we think we need somebody else to guide us in the right direction, once we've found ourselves is when we start losing ourselves again. Rely on who you are. Going to a life coach or an executive coach to help give you that kick in the butt that you need, is exactly what some people need.
Right.
Especially for people who don't have that religious aspect of things and, don't really know where to go, or they're so down on their luck, they just reaching out to anyone just to give them some guidance. And then once you get that
Something.
guidance,
Yeah.
because your job is not to heal them or help or fix
No.
them. Your job is to say, here is the road less traveled. It's going to be tough, but I got your back along the way, but you've got to do the work. And I
Yes,
think,
they
and
have to go through that eye of the needle, and
exactly,
that's a journey that they have to take. But I'm on the other side,
exactly.
waving them on.
Waving
Yeah.
them on, rooting them on, cheering, with your pom poms, as being the perfect cheerleader, you know, and,
Yeah.
and that's the best way to say it. I mean, you know, regardless of whether it's God, a life coach, Jesus, your mom, your dad, whatever, again, nobody's going to give you that power to heal yourself, but they'll be the greatest cheerleader in the world for you. That power comes from within.
That
And
power comes from within.
exactly,
Correct.
we all have that power, and sometimes we need help along the way, and there's nothing wrong with asking for help. Um,
Mhm,
but at the end of the day, that ultimate power to heal yourself comes from within,
mhm, mhm.
and I think far too many people have lost sight of that.
Right, right. And again, it's the lack of awareness. It's all the conditioning. It's like what happened to me was the cosmic 2x4, I call it, right? And until I got that hit in the head, and I was like, I didn't know that I was half asleep or half alive. I didn't know that I was just a zombie going through the same motion in life, in and out, the same thing over and over again. It was just a rhythmic repetition of the same thing 365 days until I got hit in the head and I'm like, oh, what am I doing? So something woke me up. I call that my higher self. I call that my future self. I call it God. I call it the universe. You guys are in the audience. You decide, but that is a part of you. That's your higher expression. That's your higher nature. I really believe that everything is happening to return us back home to that fuller expression of who we are. And depression is lack of expression. So the more we depress, the more we're compartmentalizing ourselves or inhibiting our expression, the more we just think that there's no future, or I'm going to fail anyway, why do I even bother? So those are the things that really limit our energy and our expression, and that is depression. So if you just break out of that and fight for your right to express yourself, express your voice, express your creativity, whatever. Start with something, and it's like a blossoming, and it's a constant and continuing discovery of yourself. And who are you going to be? We don't know. But until you take that step to get to know you and give yourself permission to bloom and blossom, you'll never know.
That is powerful and accurate as anything else and anyone else ever said on the show. So, yeah, that's you. You nailed it there. You know, and this is why I'm so happy that I have you on this on Monday. You know, I can't even put it into words now. I've lost my train of thought because what you just said really just kind of hit me. Um, the your life, my life, and everyone else that's listening life is not determined by anyone else other than who we are. And you know, we should not be out to make others happy. We should not be out to please everybody. You know, that constant fear of, not expressing yourself because you're afraid of offending somebody else or you're afraid of hurting somebody else's feelings can end up hurting you worse in the long run. And the more you hide behind everybody else, the further lost in the crowd you're going to get. And
Right.
that's not a, a physical thing. That's a metaphysical. That's a, a mental thing. And if you get lost in the crowd in your own head, that's a dark and deep place to come back from.
Right.
And the quicker everyone realizes that, and whether you realize it and even know how to begin to, fix it, are two totally different things. But you've got to be able to realize, wait a second, where do I fit in all this? Where am I on this scope of life? Oh, wait a second, I'm nowhere to be found because I wake up in the morning, I take care of my kids, I do this. Oh, I forgot my coffee. Oh, I forgot my lunch, and now I'm doing this. Oh, but my boss said I have to use my lunch break today to go run errands for him, so I don't have time to eat lunch. And da 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 da. And now it's like, okay, so when did you have time for yourself? When did you take that 15 minutes or that 10 minutes and just say, this is my time? But you didn't,
Right.
because every step of every day is all about somebody else, and you're no longer Bob or Jill or Tess or Derek or anybody else. Now you're just somebody who's, you're just an ant. You're part of the cog. You're just an ant in a row, just out there to do that one job. Please the queen of the anthill, and just kind of, wake up, move some sand around, and die. I mean, that's, and that's a horrible, analogy, but you get my point. I mean, and that's pretty
There's
much
a lot of people like that who are not in touch with who they are at core. And so they're just following the crowd. They're just being compliant, obeying the rules, even though it's costing us our freedom, costing us our liberty. And, it's not bliss to be in that state of disconnection from oneself.
exactly. It's never. We said this 20 times in this last hour. It is never selfish to put yourself first,
Mhm.
because you can never please anybody the proper way until you're pleasing yourself. That came out wrong. You can never take care of anybody else until you take care of yourself.
Yeah, yeah.
That came out better. I thought it, and then I said it, and then as I was saying it, I realized I shouldn't say this. But no, Tess, thank you. Thank you so much for being on the show. I appreciate it. You have given a lot of people a lot of different things to think about, including myself. I mean, I love being able to learn new things and take different things away from conversations and really grow myself. I mean, because at the end of the day, I'm selfish with this show, to be totally honest. I use this show as an outlet for myself in order to make sure that I survive on a daily basis. And it just so happens that I love that, and then the fact that I know that I'm helping others helps that along the way as well. But at the same time, if nobody ever listened to this show, I'd still be happy, because I'm using it as a selfish tactic to make myself happy. Again, putting myself first, which again, there's nothing wrong with.
Yeah,
Because
I can totally relate with that.
so
I have a podcast too, and it's my podium. It's like it's my release for everything that I'm seeing wrong in the world. And as long, it's always about giving it expression, right? And not sweep it under the rug, or not, I can't say that, it's gonna rock the boat, it's gonna, oh no. I gotta say something, because it's not, I'm not happy with how things are going.
I love rocking the boat. I live to rock other people's boats. I again, it comes down to never being afraid of who you are and expressing yourself. Not do it in a, never do it in a negative or
Malicious way.
a
No.
malicious way, or like a Karen or a Kyle. But do it in your own way to make it be professional, and never be accusing, never be back talking, never be degrading or anything else in between. Have an honest discussion and be right with each other. And that goes beyond the day to day. That goes for the frickin' Republicans and the Democrats right now. Jesus, just talk to each other and say, hey, what's right for the country? Not what's right for your party or my party. What's right for the country? How can we do this together as a team? And I think, if you do that in your day-to-day life, everyone's life will be better. I mean, be honest with each other. Speak your mind and do it properly. And never hide behind somebody else. Because before you can be ever anything good for yourself, speak for anybody else, you need to be good for yourself.
Yes, absolutely. That's beautiful.
Again, Tess, thank you so much. I got so much out of this. I love these conversations.
I'm so happy.
No, but I truly, truly appreciate it. So tell everybody how they can find you.
You can find me. Just go on my website at tessvergara.com. TESSV for Victor, ERG for George, ARA, tessvergara.com. And I think my name is on the board too. I don't know if that translates on. Yeah. So just go there, poke around. I've got lots of resources. I've got monthly webinar, soul powered webinar for you guys to really step into soul power. And it is moving out of the fear powered world. And there's so much going on out there right now that is keeping us locked into that fear. And what's happening when we are locked into fear, our immune system goes down, our sense of confidence is down, our self-esteem. And when all those things are down, our way of making money is down, or our relationships suffer. So there's so many things. So I invite you to just look into the website, look into my webinars, look into my podcast, Soul Power to the People podcast. And let me know how I can support you.
Yep, and all the links for her stuff is down in the description of the video and the podcast. So links are there. Check her out. Follow her on Instagram and Facebook and everywhere else in between, and look her up and listen to her show as well. All those links are available, again, down below in the description of the podcast and of the video. But again, Tess, thank you so very much for being here tonight.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I had fun.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much. And you have a wonderful rest of your day. And be safe out there.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, guys. And that is our show. Thank you so much for being here on this Monday. We will be back tomorrow. Same time, same place, right here. Tomorrow I will have another podcast host, another therapist with me tomorrow, and we'll be talking about everything from LGBTQ stuff to mental health to everything else in between. So come back tomorrow for that. But until then, everybody stay happy, stay healthy, and as always, stay heavy. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace.